What's the difference between you and every other motivational speaker out there?
So I think the biggest difference is that I don't consider myself a motivational speaker. I mean, I think that the way I speak is motivating. I really think that's the difference. Is my perception of a motivational speaker is to speak in a motivating way. I think that the lesson that I would give anybody about motivation is that there's a difference between motivation and manipulation, right? Manipulation is motivation for the bad, and pure motivation is motivation for the good. And so I think that my lessons, although they are motivational in a motivational sense, I think that I give them in a motivating way, and through stories and through anecdotes and reason, and then obviously I tie the goodness of God back into most of the stories, and then we live most of the stories in that same way. But motivation is something that's fleeting. I think that my entire goal is not that we coach people to something that's fleeting. We want to prepare them for what we would call the riches, but we want them to learn what we call the wealth. So wealth is something that goes on and on and on, that you don't have to continue to work for on a daily basis. And motivation, I guess, is a little more temporal, right? And I think wealth or joy is joyful speaker is what I'd rather be, because joy happens and it continues to happen and happen and happen and happen. And that's my brand. I want you to take my messages, I want you to take my coaching, and I want you to outgrow me and get better than me and get better than your craft and get better than all these things, that it continues to go on without you having to work on it so hard. Motivation is a one-time shot. Get it up, get it going, let's make it happen. But what happens after motivation runs out? I mean, I can't be there to jack you up every time you gotta make a decision, or every time you're depressed, or every time you're not feeling just right. You have gotta be coached, you've gotta be learning in the skill and the craft of motivating yourself on an ongoing basis. And you do that through the Wire Differently coaching system. And my job, as Todd Saylor, is inspired, but Wire Differently job is to create significance. And so when you graduate from Todd Saylor coaching to Wire Differently brand status, it's something you're doing on your own, it's something you're building on your own, and you became part of the culture and intrinsic value of becoming Wire Differently, and you own this brand, that shirt, that moniker, that WD logo, man. And it's just awesome, because you've done the reps, you've learned the processes of Wire Differently, and you become that entrepreneur that things happen for, not the entrepreneur that has to make things happen all the time. That's the difference between Todd Saylor motivation and Wire Differently significance.